Well, hello, and welcome once again to another edition of Pray on This. I'm your host, John Pray. Hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, or share the video, or join me on Rumble. Remember, we live in the era of censorship in Canada now. So the Liberal Party of Canada had its convention last week. The annual Liberal Party convention, this year called Liberal 2023. And the highlight was the keynote fireside chat between failed presidential candidate Hillary Rodham Clinton and our own Deputy Prime Minister, Chrystia Freeland. I want to say that I was able to watch the entire thing, but I did so for 20 minutes. And that's 20 minutes of my life that I will never get back, and just a waste of my time. I did, however, the night before watch the Prime Minister's speech, all agonizing 32 minutes of it. That too was a bunch of drivel, and it just showed me how terrified he is of Pierre Poilievre. However, there is one line that just sticks out above all others, and I will probably end up paraphrasing it. However, when he says, and conservative politicians, when they look at our policies, they call us woke. Woke? Pierre Poilievre, you need to wake up. What does he need to wake up to, Justin? How to ruin a country in 8 years? How to tax the living hell out of your country, tax everything to death? How to waste money? How to not balance budgets? How to take a balanced budget and spend more money than every Canadian Prime Minister in the history of this country? Is that what he needs to wake up and learn how to do? I'm sorry, but your policies and what you have put into practice has definitely hurt the Canadian economy. It's hurt the Canadian citizen. It's destroyed investment in our country. And you think that's a good thing. No, it's time for you to wake up how out of touch you actually are. Speaking of out of touch, why don't we take a look at just some of the gems that the Liberal grassroots members passed? How about the fact that they passed 11 resolutions on climate change, not saying anything and yet saying a whole lot? Basically, they want to destroy completely and totally our oil and gas sector. They want to shut down any modern farming and go back to organic farming. They want us all to live in 15-minute cities. They don't want us to have automobiles. They want us to have cars, bicycles, or to take public transportation. Now, I'm not going to say that the idea of increasing passenger rail service in this country is not a good idea. It is. We need to have more options. It costs a lot of money to fly in this country, and it costs even more to travel by rail. And even with the fact that the carbon tax is now ever increasing the cost of gasoline and diesel fuel, it's not even really inexpensive anymore to travel by automobile or bus. But I digress. There were some truly terrible ideas. Let's take what they think is a great idea. The immediate giving of 4 weeks vacation upon being hired, not the standard 2 which we give in this country, and then bumping it to 5 weeks after 5 years of service and 6 weeks after 10. Have they even consulted with industry and private business to see how much this would affect the bottom line? How much damage would this do to the economy? Probably haven't looked at it at all. Or how about this doozy? If you don't vote, you're going to get fined for it, possibly jailed. I don't see where mandatory voting should ever be considered in a country where you are free. And part of that freedom is to make a choice whether or not to vote. You actually are voting if you don't vote. Now, I myself personally always go and cast a ballot, but if you don't, you've already made a statement. Everybody I see on that ballot is not worth my time to go over to a voting booth and mark an X. You voted. You just didn't get counted in the process. Then there's the terrible idea of guaranteed basic income. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm perfectly fine with giving senior citizens the poverty rate and keeping it indexed to inflation. I'm perfectly fine keeping the disabled who truly cannot work above the poverty rate and keeping it indexed to inflation. Senior citizens, they've already done their work, and they shouldn't be forced to work to supplement a very bad government pension. People who are disabled and cannot physically or mentally work, I got no problem supporting them. But giving guaranteed basic income indexed to inflation for every man, woman, and child, because at 17 years old you are a child, that's a horrible idea. Where is the incentive to go out and work? I know there's those who are saying, oh, well, people who want a better life, well, they're going to want to go out and work. But we already have people who are willing to take social assistance, which is below the poverty line, and do that as a lifestyle. And you want to give them even more money and think that that somehow will incentivize them to go to work? Are you insane? Then comes the absolute worst of the worst idea. The grassroots membership of the Liberal Party of Canada think it's a wonderful idea for the federal government to set up a committee that all news will have to be submitted to have its sources verified before it can be printed in a paper or put out on the internet or on national television. Tell me where anywhere in a free society that this would be a good idea, that the government gets to tell you what's news and what's not. Could you imagine what Trudeau would have done if he had had a committee where you had to submit his actions on the SNC-Lavalin affair? We never would have known about it. We never would have known about the We Charity scandal. We certainly wouldn't have known about the $6,000 a night room in London that he stayed in. Hell, that took over 6 months to become public. And we definitely would not know about Chinese election interference because you can't verify that in any way, shape, or form because the whistleblowers have remained anonymous. There is no good reason that we should ever allow the government to tell us what is or is not news and be able to, by legislation and by pain of law, decide what we get to see and what we don't get to see in terms of news. I don't care if there are tinfoil hat wearing people out there who want to tell me that there is a race of lizard people that Justin Trudeau is part of that is ruling the world. I don't believe that. That's ridiculous. But there are those out there that say, oh, we must protect these people from their own foolish views. No, we do not. The majority of Canadians are very intelligent people who can sift the chaff from the wheat and only consume the wheat. Yes, there will always be idiots who want to eat the chaff. But we do not stop the free flow of information for the low IQ, low intelligent consumer of media. And I will never accept a Justin Trudeau appointed panel deciding for me what is or is not news. I'll go you one further. I'm a Pierre Poilievre supporter. I have worked for the Conservative Party of Canada and the Progressive Conservative Party of Ontario. I have worked my butt off to get conservative politicians elected. And I wouldn't trust them deciding what information I get to consume as news. The biggest manufacturers of misinformation and disinformation of the last quarter century have been governments. I wouldn't trust Jean Chrétien, Paul Martin, Stephen Harper, or Justin Trudeau to decide what I could or could not consume as news. Provincially speaking, I wouldn't trust Mike Harris, Ernie Eves, Dalton McGuinty, Kathleen Wynne, or Doug Ford to decide for me what is or is not news. Whoever came up with this, you are a complete and total idiot. If you believe that the government of the day can make a choice as to what is or is not news and that somehow will make our society better, You're not even considering the simple fact that unless you remove all other parties, and that only the Liberal Party will ever exist in Canada again, that one day you will no longer be in government. There is a better chance of there being a Pierre Poilievre-led Conservative Party of Canada government in the next election than a Liberal government led by Justin Trudeau. Do you Liberals really want Pierre Poilievre controlling the narrative? It's already bad enough that this Prime Minister has made precedents that one day are going to come back and bite the supporters of this man on the butt. Don't make any more. The simple fact is, in a free society, the free flow of information and a truly independent press is paramount. Paramount to a society being a free democracy. When you lose sight of that, you may as well move to Russia, North Korea, or China, where they tell you what you can and cannot think. That, as always, is Prey on This.